Hey guys, this is gonna be my first commentary that I'm doing on the channel, and I'm gonna make this as short as I can. I don't want to draw a video out. Basically, I'm just gonna be going over my settings and the controller binds that I use because I feel like although they're very different from what most people see, it really has helped me improve, and I feel like a lot of console players will improve if they use these settings that I have and if they really commit to it. So basically, first I'm gonna go over my regular settings before I go into my binds. I use 0.75, zero point 0.7 for my X and Y sensitivity. I recommend staggering your X and Y a little bit because it makes hitting shots like feel cleaner. I don't know, shotgun battles I feel is much more um, not as clunky. When I used to use like the same X and Y, it just felt a little clunky. So I recommend staggering them a little bit. My target is 0.42, my scope is 0.45, and I have my building sensitivity at 1.39. You don't want this too high because that although you're gaining speed, you're losing smoothness and efficiency. So I recommend finding like a happy in between where you can be fast, but you can also control your builds. Other standout settings, tap to search on is helpful, it's nice. Obviously aim assist, edit mode aim assist off. I recommend not having that on, it's annoying. You don't really need it, it's no point. Builder Pro, build immediately. You want that on if you're a Builder Pro player, which I highly, I bet most of you are. Then the edit hold time only matters if you use an edit control that is a hold action, which I do not, so this doesn't really matter. And so going into my next point, I'm going to show you guys my controller binds. Okay, so obviously I use Builder Pro, and I used to use like the default Builder Pro settings for, I mean, up until about a week ago, maybe, yeah, about a week ago. And I was a good player, but I was capped. My skill level was capped because mostly it was my editing abilities. I couldn't quite edit like a top tier player could, and that just really made me mad. And I wanted to be able to be the best that I possibly could, and I felt that my controls were holding me back. So I said, screw it, I'm gonna make a switch. So basically, what I did, and you guys might think I'm crazy, but trust me, try it out. I know it's gonna be weird. You're gonna feel like you won't ever be able to do it, and you just won't be able to get used to it. Stop being a whiny baby. You can do it. If I did it, you can do it. So if you go over to, um, actually, I mean, it shows in combat controls. What I did was I changed my switch mode from square, or I'm sorry, from circle to square. So usually you hit circle and you switch to your builds. That is square for me, and that just it screws a lot of things up, but in the long run it is so much better than circle. And another reason I don't use circle is because if you have switch mode on circle, that means your edit is going to be a hold action. So what most of you probably have for your circle is this switch mode slash edit. And since the edit is blue, what that is saying is your edit is a hold action, so it's not immediate. So that in itself is holding you back. Why waste more time on something when you can do it instantly? So that's one of the main reasons I did this, because I wanted my editing to be instantaneous. I didn't want to take more time than I needed. So I changed my switch mode to square, and that means I had to change what my reload and interact was. So bumped that up to triangle. Triangle is usually pull out your pickaxe, so I had to move that setting. So pulling out my pickaxe is touchpad. So these controls are limited to PS4 players because Xbox players do not have the touchpad. I'm sure you could find another button and work it out if you play on Xbox, but this, I'm a PS4 player and this is just what works for me on PlayStation. So that's basically it. Oh, no, one more thing. So, usually with the default settings, if you're in build mode, right, you cannot crouch. Like, if you're building, you usually would not be able to crouch. But my settings allow me to crouch, and it's very convenient because yet again, it's the default controls are restricting you. Why should you not be able to crouch? You should absolutely be able to crouch whenever you want. So that's another major reason. Oops, wrong button. Another major reason why I think these controls are so great. So those are the main points. Basically, triangle, square, and circle are the three big ones. And then R3 I have for crouch and repair. As you can see, I have it for combat, for build, and for edit. I have crouch as well because you should be able to crouch whenever you want. Okay, I'm gonna go over edit in a second because I want to go back to build real quick. I also have my trap picker place and interact as triangle. So that means if I have traps right now, so if I place a wall and I want to go to my traps, I press triangle. And if I also want to place the trap, I press triangle. So that's what my controls are for placing traps. And I want to say the final thing, I mean, I had to change my map because map is on PlayStation, map is your touchpad. So I just moved map over to right on the D-pad. And because I think it's what, squad comms or something. You don't need squad comms, it's useless. So just I put that over to right on the D-pad, just like that. You can pull up your map. And the last thing about these settings is if you go over to edit, well, this isn't really restricted to these settings. You can do this with the default settings because it's not like you have to move a bunch of stuff around. But basically, if you want to crouch, then you can't have reset as your R3, which it is by default. So by default, if you have a wall and you're editing, and you say edit a window, right? And there's a guy there, you want to unedit it. Usually, you would press the right analog stick down and you would reset it. But for me, that is crouch. So I had to choose a different button to reset. And for me, the most comfortable thing was L1. My index finger is just naturally resting there. I tried L2, but it just didn't feel as natural as L1 for some reason. And for some of you out there, L2 might be more comfortable. Maybe you're used to your index finger laying on your trigger more instead of the bumper. So either one works, but personally, for me, L1 was just way more comfortable. I just felt like I could do edits faster. And on top of being able to instant edit is just, like, you can see, I'm on console, but you can still edit fast. Like, people think that, only PC players can edit fast. That's not true. If you're a console player, you have to have the right controls. See, it's not that hard. You just gotta get used to it. The major thing with these controls is you're gonna be used to reloading with square, and you're gonna be used to picking everything up with square, and you have to practice because it's all switched to triangle. So say, I'm shooting a guy with an SMG, I want to reload. If you press square like you're used to, you're going to pull out your build. So your triangle is your reload. And also triangles interact, and interact means everything from opening chests to picking up loot to opening doors. As you can see, triangle to open doors. Everything where you're interacting is triangle. So you have to get used to that. It's not something that's just going to happen right away. You have to practice. You have to go into games. Don't land on the outside of the map and try to get to top 3 and be like, okay, let me practice my new binds. No, drop Tilted Towers, drop Retail Road, drop Pleasant Park, drop places where there's going to be people and you know that you're going to be put in high pressure situations, because that's how you become better, is when you're in high pressure situations and you're still able to make clean edits and you're able to get out of sticky situations. That's the way you improve, not by trying to get to top 3 in a game and a 1v1 a guy with your new controls. No, you're not going to do well because they're new. Your brain hasn't had time to put them to memory. So just make sure you're playing a lot of games, go to places that are populated, and I'm telling you, if you stick with these controls, you will become a better player. It's square is so much closer to the right analog stick than circle is, so it's much quicker to build and go from shooting to building. So say I'm on a 1v1 or whatever, there's a guy right below me, shoot, and I can instantly place, like, very quickly. You know, usually with circle, it takes a little bit longer, right? I just feel like with square, you can easily shoot and place something really quick. You know, right there I got my little edit delay. It's just a lot quicker for me, and I feel like it will be for a lot of people. Just very easy. What else do I want to go over? Yeah, I mean, that's basically it. Toggling your pickaxe is going to be a little weird using the touchpad, because usually your touchpad isn't something that you commonly use. Usually it's just your map, but you gotta get used to it being your pickaxe. It's just, everything's just gonna take practice. It's gonna take repetition and time, but once you commit everything to memory and rewire your brain, I highly believe, or I greatly believe, that any player can become better than what they were with default settings. And I've seen myself improve when I didn't think I really could. I thought I was kind of capped at a skill level, but after switching, it showed me that I wasn't, that I could keep improving. So it's been a great learning experience, and I wanted to let other people know about these controls because they're not very common. You don't see people using square for your switch mode that often, and you know, most pro players have things like scuffs, or they play claw, so they can, you know, they have little bypasses. But if you're just playing default with default controller, not you're not playing claw, then this is the best way to go. I just feel like it gives you the best opportunity to outplay your opponents with default controls, or with a default controller. So yeah, I think that's it, guys. I just wanted to do a quick commentary on my controls and why I think they're so good and why I think that you should try them. And by try them, I mean try them for a week. You know, try to really stick with it. Don't give up, because I mean, as soon as you think you can't do it, you've lost the battle. So that's it, guys. I'll probably be back with probably another gameplay video next time. Most likely not a commentary video. But yeah, let me know what you think of the controls. Let me know in the comments once you have tried them out, once you have committed to them, and let me know what you think of them. Alright, see ya.